Hello, all. Welcome back to the Fangirl Fantasy Podcast. I am Julie Russell, and today we have a very special guest on today, Mr. Tyler Hilton. How are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Nice. No, thanks for having me.
So just a little premise of what this podcast is the name is Fangirl Fantasy, which is as someone, you grew up, we grew up watching on One Tree Hill and then your huge music career. A lot of your followers are fangirls. And unfortunately, fangirls kind of get that stigma of the crazy, wacky fans, but also the fangirls are the ones that are buying your tickets. They're the ones
Oh
buying your
yeah.
merch. They're the ones liking and following and tuning into everything that you do. So this is kind of just to get away from that stigma of fangirls are just the
That's
loud,
cool.
crazy fans, and that, we also are the ones that help and build your whole entire career.
Oh yeah. Not to mention like build up the street teams and stuff and are like putting the word out there. I never had a bad vibe on fangirls, but I hear you.
Yeah, fangirls. I mean, yeah, fangirls are your marketing team. They
Yeah.
do everything for you without you even asking to do it.
Yeah. No, for real.
How have you been holding up with everything in COVID? I mean, I know touring is such a big outlet for you and your music. How have you been
You
doing
know
with
what's
that?
wild? I mean, like totally like just separate, on your fangirl thing is I was just thinking, when I first got started, there wasn't even iTunes on the first album I did. And I remember the second album, they were like coming out with iTunes and it was this whole thing. And that there wasn't even like internet when I did. I mean, there was, but like there weren't.
Yeah.
And the rise of like the fangirl and the street team, I mean, that exploded, I think, with the internet. And I kind of was like right at the beginning of that where I
Mhm.
saw, um, like my label kind of like mobilize these people that were like fans and in chat rooms and all that stuff, put stuff, just put the word out. And that wasn't around my first album. So anyway, totally separate thing, but I didn't think about that till you were just saying that it's weird that, anyway, how important kind of like fan mobilization has even been just in the last 2 decades, more so than even the 90s or 80s or anything else. It's like word of mouth and, putting up
Definitely.
posters and stuff. But anyway,
I
it's just
mean,
interesting.
the social media accounts, the fan pages they have for you, they're saving your live streams and like repurposing them for people to
Oh,
watch. It's a
it's
full-time
crazy.
job that they
It's
do for
crazy.
fun just because they love you.
I think about all the time too. There's different phases of fans that I feel like I've had, and I think it like totally makes sense. We're in different cycles of life, and I'm like an entertainer, so I like am probably attached to certain memories of your life that you have, or maybe right now, it reminds me of right now in your life, and then you'll move on to something else, and you always, oh, that my part of my life was Tyler Hilton. But whoever I was hanging with a lot, like in the first 5 years of my career, or every 5 years, I wonder what happened. Like I think about them all the time, like the early people who now they're probably like, I don't even know, like lawyers, doctors, they're doing teachers, they're like full adults. But at the time they were like, you were all like 18, 19-year-old kids and they're selling merch. And you know what I mean? I could see their faces and
Definitely.
think,
Yeah, like they
anyway,
also
it's funny.
they have families now and
Yeah.
they're
And of course, they're
adults
not
and
like coming to live shows and they're not waiting afterwards to get pictures or all that stuff they used to do. So you don't see them. Yeah, I see more of the younger folks or the older folks that are organized and still really into it and like, want to help out any way I can. But anyway, it's fun. That's cool. I just haven't really like done a bunch of thinking about like, oh yeah, like those super hardcore fans over the years. That's cool.
yeah, it's amazing. I love there's it's the community. A fan is a fan and they now have probably made friends because they're a fan of Tyler
Yeah,
Hilton.
I know that happens. It's so crazy. Like when I was, and I've opened up for a lot of people and toured with them that have their own, like Michelle Branch. She had her like hardcore and like Hanson. You know what I mean? They were like fans. And Hillary
Definitely.
Duff. I'm trying to think of the people that I toured with that were like really like, oh man, but
They
had
had a
that like
great fan base.
hardcore fan vibe. Anyway,
Yeah, so how
sorry,
have
sorry.
things
What were
been
you? Oh, how have I been
going
doing here
with
with the
COVID? Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually been crazy. I mean, luckily everyone's cool, but that's one of the reasons I was kind of late signing on is we're just probably like everyone like taking things day by day and trying to figure things out. But our kind of general plan was we were we live in LA most of the year. And I've got like a 1 year old daughter and my
Hmm.
wife, and she's like an actress and a director named Megan Park. So we were in Canada when the quarantine happened because she's from here. And we were like, and I've got an RV that I used to tour. And so I was like, let's pack everyone in the RV so we don't have to fly. Let's go to your mom's house in Canada and we've just been chilling there. It's been beautiful. And then we came back to LA because Megan had to film this movie that's coming out next year with it's gonna be really dope. And then we came back to Canada and we were like, okay, we'll just be here for a month or so and then we'll figure out what's happening. Cause I keep thinking it's all going to wrap up and there's going to be like, and it's not happening. So we've been at her mom's house for like 2 or 3 months. And so we were just like, okay, we were going to come back in January. And then we were like, the numbers in LA. I mean, I'm just listening to the news today. They just said like in LA, like don't call 911 or whatever, because unless it's a super emergency, they were just saying today. So we're like, okay, so we're probably like here for another at least month or two, and we can't just like pick up whenever because we got like a baby. So we just decided, this is all just to say, we were like, okay, we're obviously going to be here in Canada a little longer. Instead of cramping her mom's style, let's like rent our own house and let's just like really post up here for the short term, just month to month. So anyway, we just moved into this new house, like here in London, Ontario. And then we're just renting it. And it's cool. So the girls are my wife and my daughter back at their mom's house. And I've been kind of like slowly moving us in here. So anyway, I was on our way here and trying to get everything moved over and stuff. But so, yeah, it's just, and I was just thinking on the way over here too, like what a crazy time of life. And also for my daughter too, she's going to be like, yeah, when we were young, we moved all around. It was like the pandemic. We are trying to figure out where it's safe to be. It's just crazy.
Isn't it crazy that you'll never forget this time, but your daughter won't remember any of it?
Yes. She's probably going to be so tired of hearing about it too. Be like,
yeah,
I don't care.
I mean, you guys move around so much when you tour and stuff. I mean, this is such a great, not great, but great year for you to be able to be home with your daughter.
No. And truthfully, like I put out my record City on Fire last year and we'd kind of been like, we want to have kids. So I kind of knew that this might be, I would take a little break after this record. And then Megan got pregnant. And then I was like, okay, you want me to come off the road and I'll come home and take care of you? And she was like, no, like, I think the vibe would be next year when we have the kids, stay home. But now like work as much as you can. Like, let's try to save as much money as we can. And let's just try to take a whole year off when the baby's born. So I was like, oh, I love that idea. And it was cool that she was kind of like, independent and strong enough to be like, just go do it. So I always knew when the baby was born in December that like starting for 2020, I'd be taking the whole year off to stay home. So just by just total sheer luck, we had kind of planned on not working this year and totally just kind of hibernating anyway. So we're just in the middle of, that, but everything else got thrown away. Like I thought I was going to be home a lot, but I thought I was going to be working on a new record. Or I thought I was going to be home a lot, but, doing like all that stuff's, different. Like we can't go into the studio. I used to go into, it's just weird. The whole thing is just, it's a whole different vibe. It's so funny. And then for a while, you were probably the same way. You were like holding your breath, waiting for like life to go back to normal. And then it was so long that you're like, wait a minute, I don't even know if I want it to go back to whatever my life was before. And then all of a sudden now it's like, wait, what's my new life going to be? Like, it's just, it feels like Definitely. A whole new life is starting for us now. It's weird.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like,
do you feel that way? Or is that
kinda... It's like noon and I get to like go take my dog to the park and like, I don't have to tell anybody, like I don't have to take a lunch break, just because everyone's working from, I'm just like, oh, I'm at the park at noon and I can stay here for an hour. And as long as I have my cell phone on me, it's so different. And I like it better, being able to kind of have a little bit more freedom. Yeah. And not just having to, hey, I got to take time off to go to the doctors or, just things like that. And it's like, it's a different world, I guess, but I don't know.
The cool thing is like, I feel like with this freedom, it's just going to take us a second to settle into it because like, it is so great to have that freedom. But I feel like, a lot smart people and creative people, I feel like when you do have some kind of boundary, it like focuses you a little bit. It's better if they're self-imposed boundaries. But the thing is if you have self-imposed boundaries, you're the only one to enforce them. So it's a little harder to do. So even though like self boundaries are better, it's like harder to follow than outside boundaries, and so like I feel like that's going to be such a thing where it's going to be hard to get productivity, up to where it was. But in the process, I feel like so much of us are going to like learn. I mean, especially younger folks, are going to learn like, time management and like, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a whole different thing. You don't really have to think about if you're like at an office, it's wild.
I agree. Yeah. Who knows? And who knows when it's going to be normal and when we get to try this out and test it.
I know. And we were all like, for a second, we were like, hey, spring, and now it just feels like the last few days and last week and stuff, it's like, oh, everything's like going really slow. And they're like, at this rate, we won't be vaccinated for 7 years, they said. But I mean, obviously it's got to speed up. But I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So this isn't like temporary. Like every temporary step we make has to also be like, is this permanent? Like, would I be down? You know what I mean? Like already the woman who I Airbnb this house from, I would like hit her up today and I was like, hey, can we extend a week or two or a month or what? How flexible is this? Because it's like
7 years.
Just you don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Have you been
crazy.
trying to plan for the future with your music and like trying to plan tour dates or anything like that? Or you're just kind of like, we'll see what happens when it happens?
Yeah. There was a bunch of stuff already happening tour wise. Even though I was taking the year off, I still do like a lot of one-off dates, which would have
Hmm.
just been fly in, fly out, like colleges or festivals. I was going to do a tour of Australia for 2 weeks with Kate Vogel. So there was like, I guess it sounds like I wasn't really taking the year off, but that those are almost kind of easier to do, than like full tours or, whatever.
Definitely.
But they keep getting pushed back. And then everyone at my agency just kind of like took off. And then everyone's just on hold. So I don't know if the venues are even going to be there when we're back.
Hmm.
I don't know if the people that work there, there's going to be such a rebuilding. It seems like um, that I
It's
don't know
going to
what
be
we're
kind
even
of like
coming back to.
starting from like the beginning of your career, like trying
Yeah.
to like, unfortunately people from your agency probably got laid off and then people at the venue got laid off. And it's like making those new connections and making those new relationships to start fresh.
Yeah. And part of me is like, dude, by the way, so I just realized I still have my bed head going and it is, and obviously I haven't had a haircut in a while. My wife has been trying to cut it. So, oh yeah. Side note. I mean, there's some things that I don't think will come back from like, I would get these, whatever expensive haircuts or, from, people in LA. And now I'm kind of like, you know, my wife's probably gonna get pretty good at cutting my hair. It doesn't look like it now, but I just, but like, you know what I mean? And then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I ever want to go back to a haircut place. There's just so many little things like that that are interesting. Or like, maybe my daughter's gonna be like, it's so weird you like cut dad's hair still. Be like, it's something we started in the pandemic and we never stopped. Like,
And
it's
it
just
worked and
so
it
weird,
worked and it worked. Why go back to the old ways?
you know? Or like gyms, like I just think about like I was doing like Barry's boot camp and like cross. That stuff seems so weird. Cycle classes,
Hmm.
sweatshop or whatever, or what's it called? I don't even remember the name of it. What's like the big spin class?
Soul Cycle.
Soul Cycle. Yeah. Oh my God, it seems so far away. You're just fucking breathing and sweating on people right next to each other. Like it's so weird. But anyway, so yeah, so the tour dates keep getting moved, but it's kind of cool because I think the gift is I don't know if I ever would have gotten out of like the cycle that I was in, which is like always touring, always putting out records. And I kind of been wanting to do something new anyway, but I felt a little bit on autopilot. So
Hmm.
like I know I love putting out records and writing songs and I'll never stop doing that. Like even if I got did something else, like was on a TV show full time or didn't have time to tour, I would always put out records just because it's part of like my journaling or something.
Yeah.
And I also found like during this pandemic that there's something about live performance that I crave, like I sing different, I play different, I learn music differently. Everything changes when I play for someone. So, and I was kind of missing that. And I started doing these live streams on Patreon. I started
Yep.
doing Patreon thing. And it was just one of the bunch of things I had on a list to try this year just to see if it would work and to kind of keep fans engaged. And it, it's been so much better than I thought it would be. I just thought it was going to be so like my assistant had suggested it. And I was like, she feels like me sitting in front of like a laptop singing songs. Just, I don't know. It's maybe not weird for a lot of people, but I'm not a real like technology guy. Like, I don't know, just felt sad to me and like dumb.
Hmm.
I tried it a couple times and I was like, that was so fun. And I think the fans had such a good time. And I had so much fun that I was like, this is another thing that I'll probably do forever. Like, I have these things where I'm like, if I got pulled away into some other job or whatever it was, what of this would I still do just for fun? Because I love
Hmm.
it so much. And honestly, at least the concert once a month online, I would do even for free, no matter what, because I love it that much. It's just something about it. Same thing with records. So I got a record that's going to come out this year. I've been working on slowly and I'll keep doing the online stuff. So that'll happen even if the pandemic keeps going. And I'm not expecting anything from it. It's just like, love vibes. And there's other things that I'm working on too. I've been like doing a lot of writing stuff, and, I've been like, just other stuff. So,
You released Blue Balloons in November this year of 2020 as
Oh yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Did you write that during like the year, or have you had that and kind
No,
of
no,
just wanted to release
I
it?
had it because right before the pandemic, right towards the end of it. No, yeah, yeah, right, yeah. Shoot. Um, Wait, what was last year? 2019? Okay. Oh, yeah, no. Oh God. All right. Yeah. At the end of 2019, I guess, like right at the end of the touring, my buddy and I, who I produced my records with, we produced Billy Ray Cyrus's new record. So we were kind of working on that forever, and then it kind of got put on hold during the pandemic. So anyway, his record just came out, and it's got some really cool songs on it that we did. But anyway, we I wrote that song right at the end of 2019 when I was in the studio with him, because he is one of the craziest people I've ever been around, in like such a free way, like in a way like I might be crazy, and he was so inspiring. And there's not a lot of like opportunity, honestly, like between artists are such their own bubbles, each artist has like their whole team and their whole world. And unless you're in a band, if you're a solo artist, like it gets kind of lonely because there aren't a lot of other artists that you can really like not be stunting in front of, you know what I mean? And just be like, okay, really, like, dude, like, I don't know, it's just those kind of close things that
Yeah,
happen on the road sometimes, but they don't happen a lot with older musicians for me, because I don't have the opportunity to work with older musicians, we
definitely.
don't end up touring together. I guess what I'm saying is there's not a lot of opportunity for mentorship that I've had with actual artists. Like, people in the business have taken me under their wing and guided me. But, and Billy is so open and so that way. And he just kind of told me like right away, like, and Miley and his wife have been like fans of mine for a long time. And so I've kind of known them forever, and they're really cool. But he was like, dude, like if you need someone to talk to, like, if, I just feel like we have such like a kinship and such an openness, and just please come to me with like anything. And which was like so sweet,
That's
on
so
a
cool.
personal Tyler level, because this thing
Yeah.
can be so scary sometimes, and there's really few people to turn to. So anyway, he inspired me a lot, and he's fun and crazy. And we had written that song, Jocko and I, after he left one night when we were just jamming and an after party kind of vibe. And I had it left over, and I posted it to my Patreon, and I was like, I found this demo. Should I put this out or clean this up? Because like it sounds like kind of fun to me. And everyone on the Patreon loved it. So I was like, I'm going to do it. So I sent the files to someone to mix it and master it. And then we released it. So there might be a few other songs like that from the album that are almost done that I could put out before the album comes out. So it was just kind of a fun thing.
It really is a fun song. It's very like vibey. It puts you in like
Cool.
a good mood. I enjoy it.
It's crazy. Like, I don't know if this is something people dig or not, but like, I like blues music, and I like old music. In fact, my mother-in-law, she's like, keeps making fun of me, because she's like, every time I put my playlist on Spotify, like through the main speakers, while we're cooking dinner or whatever, she's like, oh, can you put on something not from the 1800s? Because everything I put on is like, it's like from the 50s or the 40s, or, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I just like old music or something. And she's just kind of like, everyone just makes fun of me for it. And so I don't know, when I go passion project vibe, like, it's usually, I think I just really want to be like an old traveling blues man. It's like what I wanted when I was 15. Like, it's what I always wanted. I just did blues covers when I was young, in coffee houses and bars. And like, I don't know, I just like that. So I love Elvis. Like, I just love that vibe. So it's fun for me.
Yeah. No, it is just a song. If you just like put on in a room with people who've never heard it before, I think they'd just be like, wow, this just like puts me in a good mood. Just the beat, everything about
Nice.
it.
Nice. That's cool.
And do you have a dream collaboration with anybody that like right now, if you could call them and ask them to get in the studio with you, who would it be?
Um, I always thought it'd be cool to do like a celebrity band, with a few people, like a kind of an all-star band or whatever. And I always kind of had this vibe where I would love to do, how like Nora Jones did that band called like Free Willies or something like that, or
Yeah.
she did like a Willie Nelson cover band. I always thought it'd be cool to have like a blues jazz kind of like cover band with like Nora Jones on piano, John Mayer on guitar. I think it'd be cool to have Dave Grohl on drums, just because he seems like he'd be really cool. And maybe like Flea or someone on bass, like someone who's just like, well, and I think they're all heavy hitters. They're all really great players. And I
Yes.
think they would be so fun. And I would want to sing. Everyone else could play the instruments, but if I could sing and vibe out on the mic, um, that would be my dream band. Oh man.
That I feel like everyone now that you said that is now I just need that to happen.
I need that to happen too. Okay, we'll work on band names. If you think of one or anyone out there thinks of one, you let me
Okay.
know.
Yes, we're gonna manifest this for you. This is gonna
Let's
happen.
manifest that for 2021 or 22 or 2022.
Just the near future, it's going to happen.
Near future.
So, I'm just gonna kind of jump into like the One Tree Hill fans for a little bit.
Yeah.
So One Tree Hill came out in 2003, and you were on the started coming out in the second season. So the fans that have followed your journey have been on this journey with you for 15 years. Um,
Yeah.
just about, and when you first, started doing your shows after, you were on One Tree Hill, did you notice the height, like of an increase of people coming to your shows and saying like, "Oh my God, I saw you on One Tree Hill"?
Yeah.
Was that a
Yeah.
major
Because,
thing that you happened?
so I wouldn't have known this unless I went through it. But the truth is, like, a lot of musicians don't get recognized all the time because it's not like your face is out there as much. So, like,
Hmm.
Gavin DeGraw, for instance, even though his song was way bigger in 2005 or whatever that was than When It Comes or my song, like, wasn't like super recognizable, for
Yes.
better or worse, probably like better for him, But TV people are so different. And knowing both, like I did over the years, you could go out with musicians and they won't get recognized. It's just not as visual of a thing. But you
Hmm.
go out with someone who's on a TV show, it's like you're staring at this person's face for half an hour, an hour. Or if this person was on a TV show at one point, people are looking at you like, I know that person.
Yeah.
But just because it's such a visual thing, so that totally changed for me. I mean, I think even when One Tree Hill came out, I don't even know if Walk the Line had gotten into theaters yet. We'd already filmed it,
Hmm.
but so no, everything like changed for me for sure. I was like a musician and touring around and had like got press and had fans and stuff, but not TV fans. It was a whole different like thing, TV fame or whatever. It was like airports, grocery stores, anywhere you went in public, people like knew who you were, and it was like I thought it was like really cool. It was like scary for sure, because it feels like you're walking into the cafeteria of a new school every day
Everyone's
time you go
staring at
outside
you.
because you feel like everyone's staring at you. So it's that uncomfortability. So even if no one recognizes you or no one knows who you are, you're like walking into the grocery store like, okay, everyone's definitely looking at me right now, even though they're not.
Definitely. Yeah. You don't know if they are, but you're just like, they kind of looked at me. I might have something in my teeth, but I think they're looking at me because they know who I am.
Yeah, and as soon as you're like, okay, that's right. No one recognizes me anymore. We're good. And then you just like kind of are like, let it drop. And someone's like, oh my God, are you? And you're like, fuck, I'm wearing my like, Tweety Bird pajamas. And I'm like, or whatever, I'm hungover. It's just like a whole whatever.
And it's crazy too because I think with like the streaming platforms with One Tree Hill going back on Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is, it's a whole new generation of fans now that are watching it. So
It's so
it's
crazy.
so now you
I
have a whole
literally keep
another
getting
group.
older and it's like the fans stay the same age. Like it's so funny. It's like they're like college kids like get into One Tree Hill on Netflix or Hulu or what. I can't believe the show has gone on so long. I mean,
Hmm.
you like to think that every show or every movie you're on is like so great and going to last forever. And that one has. It's like
Yeah,
crazy. It's just like people won't let it go. It's so cool.
it is crazy. I mean, it's one of my favorite shows. I love it. But it is like my
That's
friend
cool.
and her husband are watching it right now for the first time. And like we're 26 and it's like you've never watched
Wow.
this before? And they're like literally on season 2 right now and it's so crazy because they just have nothing to do. So they're like, "Oh, we're going to start One Tree Hill." And I'm like, it's just going to be a whole nother route of fans, especially after this year of people just
No,
binging
yeah,
TV shows.
for sure. I was gonna say, if anyone out there hasn't watched it yet and you're just looking for a binge show, there's like 9 seasons, and probably you start watching it now that when you're done, the vaccine will be here. Like you've got some time. So it's a good thing to start.
And then they can come see you on tour.
Yeah. Right.
How
It'll be perfect. Like back in the day, like I just came out after the TV show. I just keep reliving that same cycle over and over
Yes.
again.
Every like 5 to 10 years, you get to just keep
Yeah,
doing
I'll
it
just come
over.
back out, They're like, "Oh shit, I just finished Montreal." I'm like, "I know, it's I'm on tour."
That's amazing. How do you think Chris Keller would be handling the pandemic and COVID?
Oh, dope question, dope question. Uh, I feel like Chris Keller would probably be one of those guys who's like, I know a few of these people who are like mask below their nose, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm definitely not going out. No, I'm like really worried about it." But they'd be standing in the middle of a Starbucks getting interviewed on the news, surrounded by people being like, "I think we all need to be careful. I think," you know what I mean? But it's just like totally unaware that he is like, probably would give like a charity concert indoors just to raise money for COVID. But, it's just like, just a total disaster. Like that's
Not
his
reading
vibe.
the room that he's part of the problem.
Nope. Nope, not at
That's
all.
exactly, I feel like, what he
Probably
would be
this kind
doing.
of guy would talk a lot, every day. Like, yeah, yeah, for sure. I think we all got to do our part.
That's amazing. So obviously with COVID going on, there's so many concerts that I had planned that I wanted to go to, or in like 2019, I'm like, oh, I'll just catch them like the next time they're around, like I missed them this time, but then next time they're in town, I'll just catch them. And then 2020 hit and I'm like, I should have went to that concert. And when is the next
Yeah.
time I'm going to see them? Is there an artist that like you had planned to see and like if you were in town when they were in town or they came through where you were and then you just missed it because you're just like, I'll see him next time. You're kind of like, shit, I really wanted to see them.
No, actually, and I guess like the bigger even headline of that is like I don't really go to many shows when I'm not on the road. But the funny thing is when we're on the road, anytime we have a night off, we're always looking to see who else is playing in town. So it
Yeah.
feels like when I'm on the road, I like want to spend my nights off going to see other artists.
Hmm.
And it's fun because I don't really feel like you don't know who's going to be in town, and you also don't know who's going to be like cool to like hook you up and like want to hang backstage. So I'm always like, oh, this band is playing. Like, I don't know them. I should just hit them up or have my publicist hit them up. Be like, hey, can we all come tonight? We love to like meet you guys and say hi and just see the concert. And that's
Definitely.
always like a fun thing to do. But I can't think of any because I don't have like a running wish list. I don't have that kind of relationship to concerts anymore. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like whatever I can go see, I'll go see. But there's a lot of things I wish, and there's also like bigger life things that are like gutting me, like Winnie was born right in December, and then the whole pandemic happened. So I haven't been able to see my parents or my grandparents, like, and they're like dying to see Winnie. So like our whole thing is like FaceTime, and we're trying to figure out time to come back to California. But even when we do, it's like, everyone's got to quarantine and stuff before they can, unless we just do front yard hangs where no one's touching. It's just
Yeah.
like there's so many things like that that I'm like, I have a lot of regrets like that, where I'm starting to rethink how I'll deal with family when this thing is done.
Hmm.
Truthfully, everything happened so fast for me right out of high school that this is one of the first breaths I've taken, and um, it's a good reset. I've been thinking a lot
Definitely.
about how healthy this whole thing is too, and how like actually um, good it can be, if you're able to get through it unscathed, and how like I almost want to like build resets into my life moving forward because this has been such a hard reset.
Hmm.
It is the year that I should have planned for myself. Like we are talking about self boundaries. When I said 2020, we should just be all about the baby. This is what the year should have been. But I know I would have been like, oh, I'm just going to play this concert real quick. I'm just going to put out an album. I'm just going to tour Australia, and not like full reset,
Hmm.
so anyway, that's one of the things I think afterwards I've like really learned from this like reset is like, I want to find a way to like incorporate my family regularly back into my life. And not just be like, I'm definitely going to be there on Easter if I'm not touring, or yeah, you guys should come up to LA. I'm in town for a week. It's just so like, it just moves so fast or something. And I'm
Definitely.
always gone, and it's hard to get that connection. Anyway, I regret it.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's for anyone that had a baby or, family, grandparents are getting older that you can't see. It is just such a tough year
Yeah.
that you're just like, I wish I got to spend more time with them. Or people that live across the country from family that haven't been able to see them. So I do think it's a good reset to also appreciate everything that you do have
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. But
I know, and I keep thinking that too. Like, there's so many. I mean, it's this whole thing is so tough for so many people, and there's I get stomach drops when I think about all the things that are changing in my life forever, and
mhm,
how hard, how impossible it'll be to ever go back to the way life was before, and how little I knew at that time that was the last time those I would get to do those mundane things. But
definitely.
but I feel like so lucky, also because it's like we're surviving and we're staying afloat. I was so lucky that record came out and that big touring year happened for me then. Cause it's like, I mean, whoa, like who is anybody to just like not work for a year or two and like just be like, it's tough. You have to really like plan for that. I feel like, and like we just happened to because of the baby. And I think about like, what if this had been the year before the record came out, like, and we weren't planning on it, or like I put all this money into a record and put all this money into the band to rehearse them and get all this touring going, put all this money into advertising or whatever. And then, I mean, not to get like too in the weeds here, but it's like Fangirls, you guys all know the vibe, like there's so much that goes into it. And then what if it all just got pulled, like it did for so many people?
Yeah.
I mean, we
definitely.
think about Billie Eilish, like she had like a huge year and the whole thing has been huge for her. And my wife directed her music video. And actually her brother Phineas is doing the score for my wife's movie. And they're like great. And really great year. And I did see her and him play acoustically. And she was one of the people I wanted to see because I think she is one of the most talented. I'm so
talented.
into her. I'm such a fan, in fact, I've been a fan of her since she was like 13. I told my wife about her. I found her on Instagram and I was like, there's this song called Ocean Eyes. And this girl, I know this sounds creepy, but she's 13 years old. And I literally think she's my favorite artist. I'm obsessed with her. Her Instagram was just her posting like normcore photos with her like normcore friends when she was 13. And I was just like, this girl's the coolest girl I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what it is. But I was saying like, but yeah, so she has this huge year and she's about to go on this huge world tour. And it's like, to that, you know what I mean? Like, can't feel bad for her, but also like, that's your first record. It's your first upswing. You're winning all these Grammys. Like she's going to be totally fine. It's no big deal, but it's like, whoa, all the effort that goes into it. And
I was just stripped right from under her.
Like Taylor Swift though is probably like the best artist I know about like being on things and like having a whole like themes to her records that tie into her. She's so organized in such a big way. I don't know how she does it, but then during this pandemic to be like quarantine record, then quarantine record. And just like, it's just amazing how she does it. I don't know how she does it.
It's unreal. I just don't understand how she does it either. Cause now I'm like, all right, well now there's 3 albums that we need tours for, Taylor. So figure it out. How are we doing this?
Crazy.
I know it's unreal. But is there anything that you want to tell everyone to look forward to, what to check out? Are you doing any more live streams? Where can they find them?
Yeah, the Patreon is the main thing. And that, it's $5 a month and I do a concert. And there's other tiers also, which have been really fun. I have the studio couch dweller tier for $20 a month where I just like post a bunch of demos that I'm working on and get feedback from people. And, so that's just kind of like just a fly on the wall of the studio kind of thing. And which kind of been one of my favorite tiers because I've never really had a reason to finish some of these stupid demos, but there's something about having an audience that keeps you accountable. It's like that thing. It's a theme of our whole podcast right now.
Accountability.
Didn't even mean for it to be. Yeah. Totally. Accountability. It's so funny. And so now I've been like posting a bunch of stuff and like the other day I was doing a cover of California Dreamin', that old song from the 60s. And I was like doing it in the studio and then I just recorded it and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll move on. And then later I was like, dude, you should post that and see if anyone digs it. They loved it. And now I'm probably going to record a version of it for my record. I'm going to redo it. But I was just like, a total brain fart that I was like, let me just see if this is something, and like, anyway. And then the other thing is we do like group Zooms together, like 6 people at a time. And then there's another tier where we do like private Zooms. So anyway, if anyone's into that, even just the $5 vibe, it's like a lot of fun and I've been loving it.
Lots going on. So you're still busy during quarantine. So everybody check it out. They can find it on your social media pages, correct? Everything?
Yep, it's like patreon.com/Tyler Hilton. And then you'll see all my like quarantine adventures on my Instagram, Tyler Hilton, and my wife's Instagram. I feel like if you ever want to see someone's life for real, don't follow them because it's like what they want their life to look like. Follow their significant other.
Yeah.
Like basketball players and stuff. Like they post all these like, football players, like hard pictures. Then you follow their wife. You see like little boo boo getting fed, but or like in his pajamas. You know what I mean? Like you see the real life. Another one. Actually, I should probably put that in my Insta bio that you should follow her if you want the real story because she always posts the best pictures of me. I guess like the ones I would never do. But
caught off guard.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just fucking around on Instagram.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. This is so much fun. And I
Yeah, thanks for
appreciate the
having me. It's
support you
cool
have for the fangirls. It's very appreciated.
for sure.
And thank you everyone for listening to another week's episode of the Fangirl Fantasy Podcast. And I will see you all soon.